We go. Hey, everybody. It's Monday. It's Always Bookin Comedy. Welcome. You go by Doc?
Oh, I'm having trouble with your audio. One second
Okay.
here.
We'll figure it out in a second.
I
Here,
had you and
everybody.
then I lost you.
I'm excited about tonight.
I'll try
Every
another
once in a
set of
while,
headphones, I
I'll do
guess.
an episode with somebody I haven't met before. As an example of that. So we'll get to know. I don't want to say his. I know him as a different name, but I don't know if that's the name he uses. Can you hear me? Yeah? No? Yes?
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Perfect.
I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Is anybody
There we go.
online? And
There we
you
go.
you
Now
got
I
me
got
now?
you. Yes.
Sweet. Okay, Doc. Nice to meet you, bud.
Good to meet you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. I'd say in a sentence, tell me if this is wrong. Doc runs great comedy shows in Nebraska.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, terrific. Let's hear some more about that. How do you get into that? What do you love about it?
Well, the funny thing was I started comedy because a buddy of mine was doing an open mic night and hosting it. It was at a horrible bar that they wanted nothing to actually do with comedy. The people would come in, the patrons would actually turn up the volume on the TVs to drown out the really bad comedians. But I was dragging my wife along to all these open mics to support my buddy. And one night she goes, I can't do it anymore. The comedy is so bad. I just can't. And I said, I really don't want to abandon my buddy. So how about next week we make it more entertaining and I'll get up and do a set. I had no background in comedy. I had no real interest growing up in being a comedian or anything like that. So for the next week, I practiced in my car on to and from my office every day. I'm more of a storyteller as I've learned my style. So I would draw from my real life and come up with things that were funny that has happened to me and my kids and my wife. And I put that into a 5-minute set and it went over really, really well that night. So when I got off the stage, a bar manager came up and said, hey, we're doing a comedy competition next weekend. And a guy dropped out. Now, he had no idea that this was my first time ever on stage. He had no idea that I didn't have any other information. So, of course, I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof after the first time of people actually laughing at you. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And as he walked away, he goes, great, you get a 10-minute set. Oh, crap.
Oh, man. How long was your set that first night? Like 3 minutes?
5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well,
5 minutes.
You're getting there. Yeah, I mean, and you came up with that within a week, so maybe there's another 5 minutes.
So I did my 10 minutes. The other thing they didn't tell me was at the end of the night, they were going to take the top 3 and they were going to have them do an encore.
Oh, geez.
So after they tell me that, I got about 15 minutes to prepare. Luckily for me, the first guy went in the parking lot and got stoned out of his mind. So when he went up on stage, he just repeated his old set and they booed him off stage. Then I went up and I had enough notes on my phone that I just kind of ad-libbed about 3.5, 4 minutes. And it actually went surprisingly well. And that material I worked into sets later on. I got second that night to a guy that had been doing comedy for 15 years.
Wow. That's wild. That's
so
great.
It springboarded from there, but it was
where was that? That was in Nebraska?
That was in Lincoln, Nebraska at a bar called Rumology.
Okay. Lincoln. Big city. I mean, that's not like the sticks. Lincoln's a big place.
It's the capital of Nebraska. So yeah, good numbers there.
Yeah. You're not related to Zach Peterson, are you?
No.
You know Zach Peterson?
I know the name, but I don't know Zach.
Okay.
No.
All right. He's actually in Omaha.
Yeah, I thought he was in Omaha.
I'm sure he's been to Lincoln a bunch. What's there's that Sunday night zoo bar.
Zoo bar. Yep. Yeah. It used to be a really, really cool thing. The guy that ran it, unfortunately, a couple years ago passed away of cancer. He had some great connections in the comedy world. People have tried to revive it. I don't think it's near as successful as it was when that guy was alive and doing well.
No, I don't think I'm speaking out of school here. I was there about 6 months ago and there were 3 people in the audience. It was fallen off a little bit. Speaking of bad shows, have you ever run a bad show? And what happened?
So I would like to say that I haven't personally run a bad show.
I do want to say real quick, that was a small exaggeration. There might have been 7 people in the audience. 3 of them were working at the bar.
Yeah, still
2
point
of them
taken.
were the people running the show. The other 2 were comedians. It was
I
not
was-
great. Anyways, let's hear more about it.
So I was booked at a show through an agent that I was using at North Platte, Nebraska, which is like halfway between me and you right now,
Yep.
right? There were 400 tickets sold, so I was pretty pumped about it. I was ready
400?
400.
Whoa. What like at the
It was a conference center right off the interstate.
Oh, okay.
I get there. Well, first of all, I should rewind. Before I leave my house, 10 minutes before I walk out the door, the agent calls me and says, by the way, their PA system isn't done yet. They're doing some remodeling. So I need you to pack up your PA right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that happens with the road gigs sometimes.
Okay.
And lucky that you had some.
And he knew I had some.
Yeah.
So
he probably knew that ahead of time and just decided to surprise you with that information.
In hindsight, knowing this agent now, yeah. So I loaded up my PA, and as I'm pulling out of the driveway, he says, oh, by the way, we don't have lights either. So I have to run back downstairs, and I load up all my lighting rig. And
does this agent's name start with a J by any chance?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. I wouldn't say it on air, but
I know.
If you ask me off air, I'll tell you exactly who it is.
Yeah.
So I drive the 4 hours out to North Platte. We walk in. The first thing they say when I say, hey, can I get my room to put my bags in it is, you don't have rooms here.
Right. No lodging.
Perfect. So I called the agent, and for whatever reason, he was actually on his way to Denver for something else. So he actually stopped in and had to pay them cash because they apparently had an agreement that they were going to provide rooms for us. But then that manager was fired or quit or something. You know, the typical BS, right?
Right.
So we get rooms. There's like black mold in the bathroom, and my wife said that the couch looked like the casting couch from any porn that you don't want to watch, right? It was not good. We go down to the conference center, and there is, I don't know how many rows of 25 chairs stacked to the ceiling, but they're not put out yet. So I'm putting out my PA, I'm doing the lights, I'm doing what I need to do. And a little guy walks in and he goes, who's going to put out your chairs? You, you know, no. So I call the agent back and I make him come back to the venue and set up all the chairs, 400 chairs. Then they wanted to know who was going to take tickets at the door.
Oh my goodness. What is this?
It just keeps rolling.
Yeah.
So that was an absolute.
Did 400 people actually show up?
Yeah.
Or give or take? I mean, that part is incredible. That's fun. That's great.
We do really, really well out in North Platte, that central Nebraska area. I've done probably 5 or 6 shows out there. And I think my smallest show was like 300.
Wow. What's the trick to marketing and getting those people?
For them, it was staying on social media and just putting it out in that market with, we never spent more than probably $50 on targeted ads in that market. Wow. But they were
what
always.
Part of is it like downtown North Platte or closer to the highway?
That one was the conference center. It used to be an old Holiday Inn conference center right off the interstate. And the other ones, we hooked up with the people that ran the fairgrounds out there, the county fairgrounds. And we used one of their like conference center 4-H
That's
buildings.
a little farther away.
Yeah.
And which one did better? That's probably where the people live.
Honestly, it was a toss-up for numbers because we went back to the fairgrounds multiple times and did very, very well there.
Yeah.
Very well.
How would you set up a room for almost 500 people at the fairgrounds? Do you have lights big enough for that and stage, or do they have all that stuff?
Luckily for me, the way that they had that set up was there were columns in the middle. So my lighting rig went right there in front of the column. So I didn't block any seating or anything like that. The stage was only like a 2-foot riser. So it wasn't horribly big, but we still sat 350 to 400 in all those shows.
Good Lord.
And I just set the PA up.
How would you more questions? I got a lot of questions.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So how do you seat 400 people? Are you like on an Eventbrite and you check them in and they just Like, that's a lot of people. How long does it take to get 400 people through the door?
At the first place at the conference center, they had a computer system. I think they were using whatever ticketing platform they were using and just clicking and scanning and doing that. At the fairgrounds, they handled the tickets 100%.
Oh,
So
okay.
I didn't have to mess with that at all. None of my people, none of my wife and friends helped me out on the road and things like that. We didn't have to mess with any of that.
Okay. And but like, were there multiple door people?
Yep.
Like, when you go
There
to a
was
sporting event and there's like 10,
there
people.
were two doors, and
Okay.
they had groups of people checking people in at both doors.
Okay.
They opened about an hour and a half early because at the fair
Okay.
they had food
Okay.
as well. Well, they were supposed to have food at the conference center, but they had one bartender for 350, 400 people.
Oh, no.
And they were supposed to have this one-page menu, and it was supposed to have like an appetizer, a burger, another sandwich, whatever. At some point, they just stopped taking food orders and said it's not going to be done by the time the show's over.
Right. Yeah.
We're like,
Of course.
oh my god.
What a mess.
So that was definitely the worst of.
Is that is North Platte your favorite place to run comedy shows, or was it that like the best area, or what's your
No,
go
absolutely
to?
not. Here in Lincoln, there's a theater called the Bourbon Theater, and I've headlined the Bourbon Theater 3 times now,
Okay.
and sold it out 3 times.
Wow. How big is it?
It seats for those shows. It sat 350.
Wow. Awesome.
And
Got a
I'm going.
balcony?
It's an old 1950s renovated movie theater.
Cool.
So there's the big stage, like big background, and then the orchestra pit is all the VIP seating. And then you
Cool.
step up a level and there's chairs, and then there's like 5 risers that go all the way to the back.
Neat.
And each riser has tables and chairs on it all the way to the back.
I gotta look. Keep talking about that show. I did a show 2-3 years ago in Lincoln, and I gotta look up the name of the theater. It was an old movie theater. Take me a second to find it.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was the Bourbon or the Rococo.
It definitely wasn't the Bourbon. I would remember that, and it was
not the Rococo.
Joyo. Have you heard of that?
Oh, Joyo.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, it's not any of these.
So
what do you know about Joyo?
So the Joyo is it's probably 3 miles from my childhood home.
Okay.
And we would ride our bicycles there and watch movies there for like $1.
Amazing.
And it is a really, really old theater. I'm surprised you didn't fall through the stage. That stage is so decrepit. I apologize that you had to perform there.
It was a fun show. We got like 100 people out, and I brought my own PA system, and I was really impressed that I have just like it's a pretty expensive Bose system. It's that tall thing, it's got looks like a giraffe or whatever. And it filled the space pretty well. It's like a 200 seater. And it was a fun show.
Yeah, the Joyo actually is still in business, and people rent it out for birthday parties.
Yeah, that's basically what we did.
And
we were on the marquee. There was a nice bar across the street. I remember that. After the show, we went over there and hung out with some of the customers. And
that's a fun little area of Lincoln that has a lot of cool little old dive bars that you can go and hang out and have a great time at.
Yeah. So tell me more about the Bourbon. They got a cool green room, or what else?
Yeah. So they actually completely redid their green room, and it's up behind the stage now. It's 2 stories, and there's like 3 rooms upstairs. So when they have big bands come through, like they just had the rock band Pop Evil come through, and they sell, I think, capacity 700, because they don't have tables and chairs in there and things like that. So 700-800. So they have different areas that each band member could take over and have their own space upstairs. And they have
how do you market that show?
So that one, pretty much the same way, through Facebook ads, targeted marketing. I'll post stuff on my TikTok page. Doc Peterson Comedy is that one. And then with other comedians that I'm doing the show with, I'll have them send me a quick video, and I'll snip it into a video. So then we all have like one long video saying, hey, come to the show, come to the show. So I'm one of those promoters that says, I'm hiring you because you have a name. I'm hiring you because you're funny. And I'm hiring you because you understand comedy as a business. And if you don't understand comedy as a business, you're not going to be on my stage. That's period. And for me, Because I'm not a full-time comedian, I'm a full-time chiropractor. That's where the name Doc Peterson comes from.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
full-time chiropractor. So business first, and I know my demographic. I know who buys tickets to my shows. I know who's going to laugh at my jokes. I know who my jokes are targeted at. But I expect the comedians that I hire to have a following. And yes, I'm gonna put 350 butts in the seats, but I expect you to make an effort to bring those names in as well,
Right.
to buy those tickets as well.
Yeah. And new audience members for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
new for me, but it's also new for them. And I don't believe in paying by experience or the old like, hey, you get all this exposure. I pay better than I'm gonna say it. I pay better than every single promoter in Nebraska, period, hands down.
Okay.
Because if I'm going to sell 350 tickets, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to put it in your pocket as well. Because I'm not
Nice.
relying on this to pay my bills. I'm doing this because I love doing it.
Right.
So
What would you say is one of your favorite things about producing shows?
I would say it's the payoff at the end. The last couple weeks before a big show like that, you're pulling your hair out, you're ready to beat people, you're done dealing with the venue, you're done dealing with the comics, because as well as I do there's going to be last minute dropouts and you got to find a new comic to fill this 15-minute spot or this 20-minute spot, and here you've been marketing for 3 months or 4 months and their name is on the poster and it's on the videos and it's on all that. So the best part to me is that final round of applause when your set is over and you did it. And you
Yeah.
go, there it was.
Nice. That's great. So the Bourbon Theater, it has like rock shows, etc. How do you get on their calendar?
So every time that I have done the Bourbon Theater, just like you did with the Joyo, I rent it for a flat fee.
Okay.
That includes all my lights, my sound, the ticketing. They use their ticketing platform, so we don't have to mess with any of that. So they have their door people, they have their bar people, they have their security. That's all included in that flat fee. And then
they give you all of the door or a cut of the door or something like that?
All of it.
Nice. Okay.
All of it minus the rental fee.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they take, I think it's 2% of the tickets. It's a very, very tiny
fees or whatever.
Yeah, to cover tech.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do they do a good job marketing as well? Like out of the 300 people, do you think anybody's there because they're on their email list or go to their website calendar? Or
out of the 300 to 400 people that are there, I would say no.
Okay.
10, 20.
Okay.
20 would be pushing it. I would say 10 came
Okay.
because they're on their email list or their Facebook page or their other social media pages and go on.
They have a parking lot for 150 cars or whatever?
Well, it's right in the heart of our bar district in downtown Lincoln. So a lot of the parking is on the street all the way around the bar. And then there's a parking garage.
How close is it to Zoo Bar?
Within blocks. Like
okay.
4 or 5 blocks.
I've been in that area. Neat.
Yeah.
You get a lot of students, or you when you're talking about demographics, you mostly skew older.
So the thing that people totally misconstrue about Lincoln, Nebraska as a market is they say we're a college town because we have the University of Nebraska here.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone that has gone after that college crowd by hiring a young comic that's TikTok famous, I don't want to put anybody down, but that has that following has fallen on their face selling tickets. Mm. They have not done
it's
well.
Hard. I mean, college kids, they don't want to sit down for 90 minutes and
they don't purchase with plans in advance.
Yeah.
And when you're an old guy and you know what you want to do on a Saturday night in 2 months, you put that on your calendar, you buy the tickets and you plan for it. Yeah. So that's, I don't do walk-ups a lot. I would say out of all the shows that I produce, all the shows that I'm hired to be on, I would say less than 5 or 10% of my ticket sales come from walk-ups. They are all purchased in advance.
Do you incentivize people in some way? Like, are you charging more as time goes on?
No, I don't charge more. I don't do freebies or giveaways. I don't do like when the week of the show comes up, if I've got a handful of tickets left, I don't go, hey, buy one, get one, that kind of thing. With one caveat, I did a show at the Icebox Arena, which is where our local hockey team plays.
Okay.
It seats it was set up to seat up to 2,500 for the show that I did there.
Whoa.
We only did 800, so it's not.
That's a lot of people. 800 is a big crowd.
It was between 700 and 800, and they really wanted to fill it out that night. So the week of the show, they did offer some buy one get ones, but that was through the venue, and that was on their own. And they
is that the biggest? Have you ever broken 1,000?
No.
Is that a goal? What are some of your stretch goals? Things you'd be excited about?
I don't know. Because this
wasn't a comedian you'd love to book. Do you ever run shows where you're not headlining?
Yes. Yeah. I have no problem having other comedians headline for me. I've hired comedians from all over the country to headline. As a matter of fact, out in North Platte, up in South Dakota, all these places. I'm not always the headliner. Sometimes I'm the host and opener, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Can you shout out somebody you loved working with?
One of the guys I liked working with was a guy out of Northern Iowa. His name is Dave Peace. Pretty funny dude. I've had him on 2 or 3 different shows. My favorite Omaha comedian or Nebraska comedian is a gal by the name of Carmela Anderson. She is absolutely hilarious. I love her. She's a little raunchy, but I like it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, 60-year-old pot smoking grandma that comes out in a muumuu, and I just love her to death.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. Do you know Cameron Logsden?
Yep. Yeah. I've hired him once before. Again, it's a demographic thing. He's very young.
Yeah.
So for my demographic, it didn't hit as hard. I have no problems with Cameron. He's a great guy. He does a lot of stuff locally. I know and I shouldn't say just locally. I don't want to minimize that. He's been on morning shows because of his impersonations that he does.
Yeah, his impersonations are incredible. Very funny, super nice guy too.
Great guy. But
solid basketball player as well.
Yeah. For my demographic, that was a big miss.
What's that?
For my demographic, that was a big miss because he's young. He goes after that younger crowd.
Yeah. I mean, when he does like Mark Wahlberg impersonations, though, everybody
that
I saw enjoyed that kind of stuff. Okay. So you mentioned South Dakota and you've mentioned Reno. Where's the farthest away you've run a show?
I've been in Vegas a couple of times.
And that again, you produced a show in Vegas?
No, that was a co-production with another guy there.
Okay.
That was one of those.
You like you put your lights and your speakers in your car and you start driving.
I would say
it's at least 2 hours because that's North Platte.
North Platte's 4 for me, but
4. It's at least 4 hours.
Rapid City, South Dakota is 8.5 hours from my house.
Okay.
And so that was the furthest that I produced.
And what did you do there?
We've done very, very well at that venue. Of course, now the name of the venue is going to slip my mind because I wasn't thinking about them, but they're an awesome venue and they set up, it was in that 300 to 400 range. The last time I was there, we did 2 shows in one night back to back with 300 apiece.
Huh. Wow. What can you describe the venue? We don't need the name.
It was
an arena or a bar.
No, it's a bar, but it's a super cool bar. When you walk in, it feels like you're walking into Las Vegas. It's a bar that's set up that has a really big buffet on one side. It looks upscale. There's marble, there's columns. You walk all the way through the restaurant and you end up in a sports bar in the back of it, which is a whole new feel. And then off to the side, a little dog leg is their concert venue arena. And so for that one, which I've tried to do with a lot of my shows, I have a little slideshow and they had huge screens. They were 20-foot screens on the side. So every comedian had their headshot up when they were up there on stage. We ran a little slideshow before the show. It was cool. It was really neat.
Let's talk about that slideshow. You plug in your laptop or you got one of those little
for that one, they asked me to send them everything and they put it into their own program. But usually I have my laptop and I'll just make a simple slideshow, super simple, and I'll hook it up. I have 2 40-inch TVs and I have poles that I put them up on, and I'll put them up on either side of the.
You travel with the TVs?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What else is in your tech kit? And how are you? What do you got? A flatbed truck or like a
big SUV? Big SUV.
Okay. All right.
So I throw it all in there, and sometimes I've taken the TVs, but not the sound system, because they were
Sure.
big enough that they had their own sound system or their own lights or what have you. But for all my bourbon shows, even I have a friend that owns one of those rent to own places, and so he loaned me two 96-inch monitors to put on the front of the stage.
Sweet.
So we had one on
Do you
each
use them
side.
during the show, or you turn them off during the show?
They just had our headshots. They were still headshots during
Mhm.
the show. So as every
Cool.
comedian came up, we just fast forwarded on the slide. It went to the next comedian,
Yeah.
and so on.
Very professional. I like the production value. How much do you charge? What's like a typical ticket price for
The
your stuff?
bourbon usually runs 20, $25
Okay. All right.
is where we charge. Now, on all the shows that I've produced by myself at the bourbon, we've also done sponsorships where you buy a table of four, say for a front row table in that orchestra pit I was talking about.
Mhm.
It was like $500, and then I put your logo on all the flyers that I put out, on all the social media ads that I put out. And the last thing always do at every show is a backdrop, a photo backdrop. And so down where I have my merch set up at the bourbon, there's the backdrop with every single sponsor that's on there too. So everybody that comes by and takes a picture and posts it on social media, and then it just keeps rolling.
Do you print a new one for every show, or
Yeah,
you kind of recycle?
I've printed a new one for every show because
Same frame, right? It's
yeah,
one of
I use
those
the same
things that
frame.
connects.
Yeah.
The frame's kind of expensive.
Yeah. And actually, the company that I use, I think that 12 by 12 photo backdrop can't be more than like $300.
Okay.
And so I just send
10
them all my
tickets.
logos, and boom,
Yeah.
they're up there.
Very cool. All right, we got to start winding this down. If you've been running shows for a long time, I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons, some the hard way. If you go back and tell yourself a couple things, what took you a while to figure out that you wish you would have learned earlier?
Not everybody is really your friend. So
Okay.
some people are there to ride the coattails. Some people are there to just see what they can get out of the relationship. Some people are there to see if they can watch you fail. So that's a big lesson. And the other lesson is, if you think a promoter or a venue is sleazy, they are.
Okay. Hilarious. Let's see. What else? Is there anything else we haven't touched on that you'd like to talk about?
The other stuff that I'm into right now is I do a lot of voice acting for a place called Enchilada Radio, where they hire me to do some voice acting for syndicated talk shows in the morning and things. That's fun. But the other big thing that I've been doing a lot of lately, that's taking up a lot of my free time, is I started ring announcing for professional boxing, MMA, bare knuckle. And so I wear the sparkly jacket, get in the middle of the ring. And
You have a catchphrase?
yes, I do. I don't know if I'll blow out your speakers if I do it here, but you cannot say, "Let's get ready to rumble." That
Right.
that
It's like
costs you
trademarked or whatever.
$1.25 million every time you say that, is what he
Wow.
gets paid. So I say, "Are you ready?" And that's how I bring out my fighters.
Nice. Amazing. All right. How can people find your future shows?
The best way is probably on TikTok. Doc Peterson Comedy on TikTok. I'm Doc Peterson Comedy on Instagram. I'm under my real name on Facebook still, just Jeremy Peterson. So you can find me on there too.
You prefer Doc, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
I'll
much
change
it.
it on YouTube. Right now it's under the other name, but I'll
Oh
change
yeah,
it. I'll update
yeah.
it.
That's the easiest way. Is that way I distinguish from like my day job and the comedy job and the ring job and all
Right
that
on.
stuff.
That's awesome, man. Well, this was a really fun conversation. Thanks for your time. Stick around for a second.
All right.
We'll chat. And thanks everybody else who tuned in from the Carolinas. Thanks, Mark, for tuning in. And we'll see you next week. Always Booking Comedy every Monday.